All right, welcome to KMS Brews, another edition, or should we call it the beer show, famously named by Kirk. Woo! Okay. So tonight I got Minifan Kim Jong-un, Shank Fight Club, Inspector J, and Medium Poppy hanging out. We're going to drink some beers and talk some bullshit. So let's do it, boys. Poppy, what are you drink? You're drinking, what is that? Oh,
Labatt Blue. Fucking love it, dude. Canadian Pilsner, all about it. All about it.
All right. What's the ABV on that bad boy?
Let's see. 4.7. 4.7.
So
a little nod to the Blue Machine, one of the better Discord guys.
Nice.
And yeah, this is a great beer. Like, one of the things about me, I love like really good beer, really good coffee, good food. I'm also completely happy with like Budweiser, Dunkin' Donuts. I like the whole spectrum of craft shit, you know? I'm not snobby in that sense.
Blue said he wants to come on too at some point, so we got to get him on at some point.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of people that say they want to come on, so I can't wait to have them all. Some of them back out in the last minute. We're talking about it.
Yeah, no names mentioned.
No names. So I have myself Tuckerman's Fall Line Rye IPA. A buddy of mine went up to Tuckerman's last weekend. He brought me a couple of beers. I love rye beers. I love that little spiciness to it. It can be overdone. A lot of breweries do good things with it. One of my favorites, and you know, someone's gonna beat me over the head, but Trillium did a Wake Robin Belgian beer a long time ago. They don't brew it anymore. Talked about it. That used a lot of rye. This is great. A little bit of spiciness, nice little IPA, hop balance. I'd pick it up. We got Inspector J. What are you drinking, man? The no head.
Yeah, I have the Bitburger Triple Hopped Lager, which is a combo between Bitburger and Sierra Nevada. So it has, let's see, Cascade, Centennial, Chinook, and Bitburger's proprietary hop blend. About 5.8 ABV. Let me get back here on the screen. So it's quite good. And the only negative I would say is that I don't like this short-change cans. It's 11.2 ounces,
That's
not
bullshit.
12. So normally I disavow that, but you know, for the show I had to contribute something different.
There you go. What about you, Shank?
So the one that I'm drinking tonight, I think it could be a little controversial. I'm going with a pumpkin beer. I know pumpkin isn't really accepted in the craft beer world, but fuck it. So I got the cold brew coffee Pumpkin out of Southern Tier Brewing. So you're going to get some flavors of coffee, some flavor of vanilla, just a little spiciness from the pumpkin. And, you know, I really like it. I think most craft beer people, you know, they're pretty snobby, but everybody has that, you know, one little thing where they'll say, screw it, I don't care. I'm willing to overlook certain aspects. And, you know, every now and then I actually don't mind a pumpkin beer. So
I feel like those people are just like everybody else. You know, they're bitching about the pumpkin spice. And, you know, I had a pumpkin spice beer, coffee today, and I liked it, you know.
Yeah.
I've never admitted on the show, I just did. But, I mean, I like pumpkin beers. They also have a nitro this year, too. Did you see that? I almost picked that up.
Yeah, I really, really like Southern Tier. I think they do some really good stuff. You know, usually the only ones that I find are the pumpkin ones. Those seem to be distributed more than anything. But I really like them.
Yeah, it's funny because it's basically I only ever seen the Warlock, the Pumpkin the variations, and then the Creme Brulee beer that they do. That's the only ones I ever see distributed.
Have you seen their 2 times IPA? We get a ton of their stuff.
Not in a long time.
Yeah, I never really see that. Like I said, just the pumpkin, and yeah, you're right. The Warlock one you see quite a bit. But yeah, a lot of their stuff doesn't make it up here, but this seems to be one that usually does.
I saw a mix pack tonight. Sorry.
No, it's all right.
It was, I think 6 different varieties at BJ's, where I actually got the the one I'm drinking tonight. So, yeah, it seems like they're not well distributed. I've seen it at a couple different places, but I don't think they do a lot of volume.
Yeah, I
Not
think
up this way anyway.
they backed down distribution, I think, a bit. They were just going a little too hard, and stuff was hanging on shelves. Yeah. Kim, what are you drinking, man?
So I am drinking Fab Cans Fab 200. The reason I grabbed this beer, I was at the liquor store and I saw the artwork and I was like, huh, that's kind of cool. I'm going to grab it. So I grabbed it and I did a little research on these guys, and I'm actually more confused after reading about them than this. So this is supposed to be the Somerville the Somerville Community Garden. It's artwork done by Joey Marsert from Provincetown. It's basically a bunch of artists and activists that got together to make a beer company in January of this year. So this is celebrating their 200th day in business. They had a 100-day one. They have 2 other beers. They're West Coast inspired, but if you read the descriptions on their beers, specifically this one, it doesn't seem like that they know what they're doing. That being said, it's actually fantastic.
So it's West Coast. So you're just getting that bitter vibe from it. Is it tasting like an original Stone IPA style?
It reminds me. It does. It's a little. It has some nice citrus to it, so it's sweet. It's not too bitter. It's interesting. It's they're definitely inspired by the West Coast IPAs, and that's what they say on their website. But it's not as bitter as a typical West Coast. It reminds me of like a mixture of a New England IPA and a West Coast. I really like it. I don't think that they really know what they're doing. If you read their website, they're also extremely left wing. So if you have issues with that, they're very political. But no, it's pretty good beer. So I'd definitely get it again. Although this is, like I said, their 200th day in business. So maybe their 300th day. I'll try the next one.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to Kim. You raised what, like $2,000 for Ellie Schnitt and Gina's bail bond fund, and now you're drinking these beers. I just want to give a shout out. You're doing your part, bro.
No problem.
There's been several rapes and stabbings due to that bail fund. So
he's still enjoying it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, I just want to jump in real quick. So I was just doing a little bit of research, and I actually totally forgot about this. So Fab is started by one of the guys who was with Aeronaut. So he had left, and there was a whole lawsuit about, I think it was, it was stealing recipes, or I apologize. I can't remember the exact reason why there was a lawsuit, but yeah, it's from one of the guys who had founded Aeronaut in Somerville.
Wow. Yeah. Aeronaut was supposed to be, I mean, got a lot of clout or a lot of hype at first. Like a lot of their stuff, I heard really good things about, and I tried it and I was like, it's not bad.
Yeah. So I'm looking it up now, and it said that they're being sued for trying to rip off signature Aeronaut recipes and design elements, among other allegations. So so it sounds like there's some issues there, and I mean, you can definitely tell. It looks like there's a lot of politically charged things going into it. So I don't know, not for me, but
sounds like the perfect beer for a corrupt Discord mod.
Hey, you should send it out to everybody. It's
You're banned, shithead. Move along. No, I now that Shank mentioned it, I also recall that there was some litigation there.
Well, that beer is supposed to be West Coast. Number one, West Coasts are usually clear, and does it have the IBUs on there? Because it should have pretty high IBUs. It should be like 70, 80, something like that. They probably don't even know what an IBU is from what you're talking.
It's 7.5% alcohol. That's all it says.
Okay.
It's ale brewed. It's with mango and lemon. Like I said, the description of this one specifically basically even said that they didn't really even know. So I don't know what they're doing. I mean, it's really good. I'll give it that. It's just I wouldn't call it a New England IPA, and I wouldn't call it a West Coast IPA. I'd call it something in between.
Nice.
Central Mass IPA.
Central Mass. That's perfect. I'm writing that down. No. So Kim, I want to hear that story, or I want you to hear it on the show about the Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
Kim had an interesting So an interesting day over at his local beer store the other day.
Yeah, it was actually bizarre. So on Friday morning, almost afternoon, I usually go to the liquor store at the exact same time, and there's nobody ever there at that point except for like the beer rep that's always in there. So when I walked in, there was another guy in there, and he was just kind of standing, looking at all the beers. And I walk in, and he asks the guy behind the counter, and he said, "What's the difference between Marzens and Oktoberfest, and what's an Oktoberfest?" And so he's explaining everything there is to know about Oktoberfest to this guy. And I'm still just looking around, looking for some IPAs for the game on Sunday. And he turns to him and says, "Is this all you have?" To which I made eye contact with the beer rep, and we both went wide-eyed because there had to have been 200 cans and bottles of Oktoberfest beers that were either in the cooler or in the section of Oktoberfest. And he says, "Well, yeah, feel free to clean me out," like kind of sarcastically. And then he gets on the phone and he says to this guy, "I don't think it's enough." So this is when the guy behind the counter says to him, "Well, we can get you a keg." And he says, "No, it has to be bottles and cans." So I don't know what he was up to because I decided just at that point to get my beer and leave. But he wanted over 200, 300 cans and bottles of Oktoberfest. But the weirdest part about it is I get out to the parking lot, and I know the beer rep's car because he's always there every Friday. He had like a Camaro, like a newer Camaro. So I'm not even sure how he would fit 200 or 300 cans and bottles into this thing. But I don't know what he was doing. I mean, when I left, he was still literally staring directly into the refrigerator case, looking at the beers, just not doing anything. So I'm not sure if they were doing some type of party or a tasting or if he owned a restaurant and they just ran out of beers. But the other weird part about this store that I go to is they don't really have big beer. And I mean that like they don't have Sam Adams Oktoberfest. They don't have a lot of these other Oktoberfests that, you'd get at a standard liquor store. It's the Ehringer. It's Idle Hands Oktoberfest. I mean, I think the biggest beer that they have for Oktoberfest is either Copper Legend or maybe Two Roads. I mean, that's it. Everything else is, either from Germany or from a smaller brewery. And it was bizarre. It was completely bizarre. And actually when I go back on this Friday, I'm going to ask him what happened, if that guy bought them or not. Because I guarantee he probably went to Total Wine in Natick to get, whatever he needed to get. But it was a very strange thing to see.
A guy dropping $1,000 on Oktoberfest beer. None of us were invited. It's fucked up.
The thing is, he didn't know what the difference was. That's the most bizarre part about it was he asked for an explanation on the difference and then didn't care about the difference and they just wanted to buy everything that they had. So I'm not sure if he was full of shit or if like he was on some type of mission for like a restaurant that fucked up or they're having a wedding, or maybe he like worked for a wedding company that fucked something up and they were supposed to get Oktoberfest beers, and I don't know. It was completely bizarre.
Beautiful. So
I want to say Murchison was involved.
Oh, fuck off.
He lives very close to where I live.
Exactly. So. Yeah.
Very, very close, actually.
Yeah, it wasn't like an SUV with tinted windows that showed up.
John from Featherston.
Yeah. So we want to do a new little thing, a new segment, beer news. Woo! So we looked up some topics, and we were thinking of some. One of the ones, it was just like a little blurb or a little thing that I saw today, is Trillium and their bottles. So Trillium famously started as just bottles, and everybody wanted them to go to cans, blah, 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 and they finally did. Well, except for, we'll hear about it. But I guess we'll talk about what you guys feel between bottles and cans. I am extremely hyped for this just to get a bottle, which is fucking stupid in my eyes, honestly, because it's the same fucking beer. It's just in glass, so I'm going to drive 45 minutes up there just to get the same beer in a glass. But I like nostalgia. But Poppy, I know you were talking about it a little bit. So what do you think, man? What do you think about this?
So I also kind of relate to the dichotomy there. Like I really have a lot of nostalgia for the beer back when it was in bottles. I'm not a big fan of cans in general. I was never one of the guys that was pushing for Trillium to get, their beers canned. It's easier to like mail and ship and trade and all that shit, but I don't know, bottled beer, especially when you're buying a premium beer, you're going to be spending $5 a can. You might as well spend the extra $2 and buy like a bomber, a nice big bottle of it. So I'm pumped to see some DDH filet double dry hopped Congress Street, which is like their flagship Galaxy hop beer. And if I can get that in bottles, I would love it. I'm not really sure. I'm with you. I'm not really sure why, but if you're spending the money at that point, what's an extra dollar or two to get a nice premium product and enjoy? I don't know.
So this is what you get for $32.10. You have to factor in that 5-cent deposit. You get 2 750 milliliter DDH Congress, a Welcher glass, a Bella, you know what I'm talking, Willie. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Willie
Willie
glass.
Belcher,
Yeah, Willie Belcher, and then a sticker, $32. Mm-hmm.
I used to get it at Julio's for like $7. Was a bomber or whatever it was. So
yeah, so I mean, it's cool. I don't know if I'm gonna do it. They're doing single bottle deliveries to if you're on the delivery list, you can get a single bottle. So I guess they're not doing that actually at the actual brewery. So it doesn't really, seem worth it. Like I talked about before, I love to ship beer. I ship beer to friends and stuff. So bottles are just too cumbersome. It's extra money. They could break, so it's not my thing. When Oscar Blues, when I saw their model, and they were probably one of the only ones canning tall boys at one point, I fucking loved it. And I pretty much bought them.
So my thing about bottles is pretty much for storage, right? So like, you can take aluminum is going to eventually kind of leach into the beer. You're going to eventually taste that flavor of the metallics, whatever. But when you throw hops in there, there's definitely going to be an expiration date no matter what. But I feel like you're going to get a little more, time, a little more bang for your buck, and lifespan on a bottle. So for me, I can kind of put it in the fridge, drink it 2 months, 3 months later, and not feel as bad as I would with a can. Yeah, it's interesting.
I think it's a gimmick. I actually, I'm sure I don't think we've talked about this really in depth on the show yet. But there's a massive aluminum shortage when it comes to cans. And JC is not an idiot. And, all these breweries are having trouble getting cans. So if you can, put it in a bottle and then play off people's nostalgia and play off the fact that beer tastes 1,000 times, especially IPAs, 1,000 times better out of a bottle than it does a can. Like I think we've talked about this before on the show that never got aired. Sip of Sunshine in a bottle was 1,000 times better than Sip of Sunshine in a can. People can say because it went to scale when they went down 2 roads. I don't care. It tasted better out of a bottle. Congress Street, I liked it better out of a bottle. Stouts, I always like better out of a bottle. It's just, compared to the Oscar Blues, the stovepipes that they have, in the 1050s, it's better out of a bottle. And right now, JC is not an idiot. JC makes money. He knows what he's doing. Cans are at a shortage. You can play off nostalgia. You can charge more money, and then at the same time, you're not having to do that swap out. Because if they don't have enough cans, they still got to produce. They would normally try to make that cost shorter in between. They're absolutely playing off the nostalgia for now, saying, "Oh, we're going to have some limited bottles." I guarantee you, and I don't know this, but this is my opinion. I don't want to get in trouble, but I'd almost guarantee that they don't have enough cans to put the beer into to get it out to the market. I guarantee it's a gimmick. That's my opinion. But I just think that he's being smart because they can't get enough cans and they're putting in a bottle to make a premium right now.
Sorry, who's JC? Is that the
Trillium
owner guy?
of Trillium? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. He's the owner. Yep.
So I'm more partial to cans. I think they're easier to because I have a couple of different places that I keep my beer. I have a beer fridge, and putting it in the regular refrigerator, I find it much easier to store them, just being able to stack. One thing that you have to take into consideration with bottles is, if light is getting into it, that can affect the beer. Now that we're getting out of summer, outside as much, sunlight isn't going to affect it too much, but that's just something that I think you always have to consider putting it in a bottle. And then of course the issue of the glass breaking, and to me, I prefer a can. I find it much easier to just store everything that way, and I think the shelf life is a little bit longer in a can. But you're right that there is a shortage, and places are going to do whatever they can to continue to be able to package and sell for whatever their price point is.
Oh, especially in this time, in this climate,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, exactly.
IJ, do you give a fuck? I'm going to guess no.
I do not. For me, it's all about the weight of recycling. So I would rather bring, 100 cans to the redemption center than 100 bottles. It's
Oh,
just,
sure.
Yeah.
That's true, too.
Yeah.
My concern with this, with what's going on though, is, Trillium has the ability, because they've bottled, before, and they still have bottling, that they can get around the canning crisis that, some people are saying is going to come. There's a lot of breweries out there that don't have bottling, that
Right.
they
Yeah.
just only have canning.
Right.
And the aluminum shortage is really, really bad, and pricing is going up and cans are going down. I'm curious to see what happens with some of these guys that don't have the ability to bottle, what they're going to do, 3-4 months from now when they say that this is going to come to a head. I mean, we talked about this on our thread. I think it was you, Shank, that said, maybe as more of these breweries go out of business because of COVID, it'll take the demand down. But I don't know. I mean, there's a massive shortage with aluminum cans.
Yep.
There's a lot of breweries out there that don't have the ability to bottle, and I don't know how they're going to put their beer into containers, moving forward in 3, 4, or 5 months from now. I just don't know how they're going to be able to do it.
Yeah, no. I mean, it sucks, man. Everything is getting affected like that. We're going to have somebody hand bottle this shit. It's going to be like home brewing and pouring from a little tube and, like the home brewers do. But
I think I
issue.
mentioned to you guys the last couple times, even Sam Adams, when I went to 2 different locations, it was all glass and there were no cans. So, one of the top brewers in the country is seemingly having difficulty finding aluminum.
Yeah.
He might have just said fuck it. I mean, he's been in bottles forever. So, I mean, canning for them, I mean, they've done it a little bit, but they were always bottles. So,
Right.
yeah. So another one. This might be for more the domestic macro beer audience. Yingling has partnered up with Miller Coors. So IJ was saying earlier, we were talking to the thread a little bit, that Yingling is available in 22 states, pretty much east of the Mississippi. So they have a distribution deal, and I'm sure a multi-million deal, I'm sure, to go to the West Coast. And honestly, I had a Yingling today. It's a fucking good macro beer. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, shut up. It's still a little craft to me. I mean, it's really not, but I think it's a great beer, and I think it's one that if I had to pick something that was in a gas station, besides like Sierra Nevada, that's the one I'd pick. It has good flavor, good bang for your buck. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
Number one, it's way better than Narragansett. Narragansett is kind of the comparable option in New England, right? Narragansett, it's also so the two things they have in common would be the age, right? Inspector Jake can relate to that. So they're older beers, and I wouldn't consider Yingling to be like, I would consider them craft because I think they're literally the oldest operating brewery in America. But I love Yingling. I wouldn't go crazy for it, but it's just a solid option. Like I was saying earlier, I love drinking just like regular beer. Like I also like drinking nice beer, but having a couple of Yinglings, a couple of Bots, whatever, my night's made.
Fuck yeah.
For me, it's the price point. They were very low, and then they went, national. I know we're in 22 states right now, but they jacked the price up, and I'm like, I'm not going to pay for that when I can get a solid IPA, so.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, their 12 packs are like $13.99.
Yeah, and I can get a Sam for $13.99. I can get a Sierra for $13.99. I can get a Stone for $14.99. So for me, that game over.
That's a good pick.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that'll be a great future episode if we all kind of bring to the table what our best like budget picks would be. That would be a cool episode too.
Yeah, good idea.
I got a ton of them.
I remember when Yingling. I'm 38 years old, and I remember my freshman year of college in 2001 at UMass Amherst. There was a lot of people from Pennsylvania that that came to UMass, and they would always say Yingling's the best beer in the world, and I never forget, we'd always tell them, bring it back for our fraternity parties. and we thought it was like the greatest beer in the world. Like we really thought it was. I mean, it was probably because it was all hype and everyone from Pennsylvania swore up and down that Yingling. But to say Yingling, I mean, I think Shank said this in our thread too, and I agree. Anytime I'm at a wedding and they have like Coors Light, Bud Light, Yingling, I grab the Yingling because I'd much rather have a Yingling than a Coors Light or a Bud Light. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, it actually has taste.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that was Yingling was probably the first like foray into craft beer for me, because it wasn't Bud Light, it wasn't Coors Light, and when I think I had turned 21 maybe a couple years before Yingling came to Massachusetts, so it was it was a big deal. I remember when it first came here, so having something new that wasn't just the same old, like I said, Bud Light or Coors Light, it kind of blew my mind that there was actually beer that tasted halfway decent, and at the time was still relatively cheap. So I always have a soft spot for a Yingling.
I was very happy when it came to Mass. I really was. Yeah. So next, coronavirus. We're talking about a loon shortage. It's affecting breweries. Obviously, we know that it's affecting restaurants. Two of the more prominent Massachusetts breweries that kind of are in almost every craft beer store, the distribution is insane. Night Shift and Lord Hobo both had some coronavirus scares to the point where they had to shut down. They did a cleaning. They could only do some curbside. It must be a nightmare. They have to, anybody that they knew that went there, they had to contact them, I'm sure, all this stuff. So how is this going to affect the future of craft if the coronavirus just hangs out? Like, it's just around. It's terrible. I mean, we want to go to these breweries. We want to hang out, interact, and all we can do is curbside shit. And go back to your house when I really do enjoy, like we talked about, the brewery scene. Another place, Hopsters, is closing, which I'm not really fond of, but it's part of the craft beer homebrew type scene. So what do you guys think about that? I know Shank, you were talking a little bit about another brewery close by that might be affected by Night Shift.
Yeah, so Bone Up in Everett as well. They're about 2 minutes down the road from Night Shift, and a really, really small brewery, but they get a lot of their foot traffic from Night Shift. If anyone's been to Night Shift, there's some Saturday nights when you go and there'd be a line down the street, but you could just walk over to Bone Up and you'd be able to sit down and have a beer. I think it's really unfortunate that a lot of these places are having to deal with coronavirus scares on top, after being shut down for months, and then having to totally flip the script and now having to do food when they never had to do that before. And these places have had to adapt so much over the last few months, and they're already running on thin margins. So to then have to ask some of these places to shut down for a week or 2 weeks, or even months, as we get towards winter and possibly another spike in cases, there's just going to be a lot of places that don't make it to 2021. It's really sad to see.
I think right now is going to be the true test point the next couple of months, because with people not being able to be outside, like they were making some money with people drinking outside, like Trillium can probably put 5-10 grand into their little patio outside. I mean, I'm sure they'll be fine, but just places like that, it's terrible that how much it affects. And craft is like really mom and pop small business. It really is.
Well, a place like Hobo, and Night Shift, they'll be fine. They're not going anywhere. They're basically big beer at this point, but they're just the beginning of it. If some of these smaller places have the same issue, then they won't be able to make it.
I mean, think about this combination of factors, right? You can't really sell beer on tap anymore, have a tap room. Cans are having a shortage. You can't fill growlers because of coronavirus. Like, that's a major three of factors that are going to be super hard to overcome.
And the places that are able to open have capacity limits. So even the business that you are able to bring in some places it may just be helping you break even.
Sure.
Yeah,
That's all they're doing. They're just trying to stay afloat right now.
And I just read a medical article about, indoor dining versus outdoor dining, and, recirculating air inside a brewery, a restaurant, gives you a much greater COVID acceptability, getting COVID besides dining outdoors. So now that we're getting into the cold season, that's really going to screw these people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's going to be like mass hysteria for no fucking reason.
No, and I can tell you firsthand, as that's kind of what I do for a living, specifically with air circulation. In restaurants, in malls, in bars, and breweries, and everyone's trying to get certain things to help prevent that from happening in their air circulation. But I will tell you this right now, the lead times on UV and things that go into the duct stream in order to prevent this from happening, you're talking 20 to 30 weeks at this point. So
Wow.
if all these breweries and restaurants and bars and all these things that want to stay open in the winter, none of them had the foresight, because they didn't have the money, because they weren't open to be able to afford this stuff. And now two, they're thinking to themselves, all right, yeah, let's get a system into our building, into our brewery, to clean this air so people come in. You're talking 20 to 30 weeks before that's going to be available. Yeah. So you're in a situation, especially with cold flu season, that it's going to be tough, and we're going to see people go down. We're going to see a lot of lost business and things like that. It sucks, and a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, and our unemployment rate's going to go up in Massachusetts even more. It's a horrible situation. It's not good all around.
It's terrible. I hate that part. The whole COVID thing. I just hate what's going happening to small business and craft in general, with stuff like that. So we'll see what happens. That's all we can do. And go to your local craft beer breweries and buy local beer, people.
Yeah, when's the Minifan Brewicon?
Yeah,
you talking about that?
All right, Jay, we'll get to it. No, I'm kidding. So I swear, I just had my phone out to think of. I'm thinking Columbus Day weekend. So announcement, we're going to pick a brewery. I don't know if we should have a vote on it. I do want something that I think is centralized to all of us, something that maybe is not more than 40 minutes from any of us. We can throw a poll out there, maybe try to get some people to talk about what their favorite spots to go to. But yeah, I think that either October 10th, 11th, or on Columbus Day, if you guys are off and they're open, pick one of those days and let's meet up,
Sounds
take everybody.
Good.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah, hopefully get some of the fans out there too, some of the people that, listen to the show, and, I'll bring some pens for everybody. We can sign some shit. What are you laughing?
Any stickers and pens?
I do have some.
Any flags or
CBD products that you want to?
CBD. Everybody's got a fucking CBD product now.
Any robots showing up? Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. Well, that'd be cool. Yeah, but seriously, that'd be awesome, guys. Like, really, I want to get together. I want to have a beer. I want to talk about stuff. I want maybe do some filming. I know a guy that's there's a new brewery opening up in Providence, and I could possibly I know the person that's like doing all their social media, so I'm going to go to their soft opening and I'm going to talk to them of possibly doing a live thing over there. So maybe in the future, for us, it'd be in Providence. But yeah, I mean, looking forward to stuff like that and drinking beers with you guys and everybody that's watching.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, Providence has been great lately. I've been going to Providence a bunch. I love Providence.
Yeah, man. You were down in Long Live and didn't text me, you asshole.
Oh, my bad.
Hey, no personal attacks.
This isn't Discord, Jay. This is KMS Brews, motherfucker.
All right, let's wrap this shit up.
All right. So Jay's gonna go to bed. So we're gonna say goodnight.
No. I'm the producer of the show, you asshole. So
that's true. We have to thank
I make
Jay.
The shots. Yeah.
We have to thank Jay and Gig, because Jay gave us some phenomenal production last week, and Gig gave us some phenomenal music. So Thanks to those guys. Shout out to everybody that's watched. Thank you so much. We'll have more in the future very soon, among other things. Cheers from KMS Brews. Cue the music, Jay.